You are live with the Creative Minds podcast. Relax. It's just the Creative Minds podcast.
Hello. And welcome to this slightly different style of Creative Minds, but I'm going to be bringing you all the same goodness right now. I'm bringing you conversations, interviews with artists that I've been loving, enjoying, getting things from this week. We're going to be looking at an extract from an interview with Toro y Moi, and I'm going to be telling you a bit about why I love his project and what I've been really enjoying from him. I'm going to tell you the album that he's just dropped and my favourite song on that album as well, which, yeah, that's a definite go listen for me anyway. Then we're going to look at a little extract from Blood Orange, little extract from a Dev Hynes interview. Again, another project there, another eclectic project. I was listening to it on a long drive a couple of weeks ago, just after it dropped, and yeah, really enjoying that project. Wanted to give a shout out and just talk a little bit about that artist too. Then we're going to be jumping on to an extract from an interview with an artist, Raphaela Vogel. I watched this, pardon me, I picked this one up actually this morning when I was having my coffee in bed. And the conversation here, the discussion that I wanted to open here and that Raphaela talks about here is around the pressure that we might feel to put our work in a box, define our work for other people, and how that can actually, how that there can be a bit of a tension in that for artists and creatives. And I think I just wanted to open that discussion here and just kind of shout out to that interview too. Then we're going to be talking about a little recent obsession of mine, a little secret obsession that I've been keeping to myself. No, only joking. It's an interview with Jeremy Strong, someone who, what I'm saying is I've been listening to a lot of Jeremy Strong interviews recently because the guy gets a lot of stick, but I think I want to tell you one thing from him. He doesn't get that much stick, but I want to tell you why I think he's a useful and interesting role model in some respects for artists and creatives out there. Then we're going to look at an Earl Sweatshirt extract from a recent Earl Sweatshirt interview. And to be honest, I feature Earl Sweatshirt so much on this channel that sometimes I try and get away. But I watched this interview when it came up and I loved this extract where he talks about his new project, how it came into being and a few things around that. So we're going to get onto that too. And then at the end of this piece, I'm going to give you a long extract from the conversation that I had. This is a conversation I had with Anna Bucciarelli, someone who watches my videos but is also in the YouTube space herself. She's an artist, a freelance creative, and yeah, we talk a lot about what can come from artists moving into the content space, but also the tension and things that you might deal with if you're moving into being a freelance creative. So yeah, I love that conversation, and I've said it before, but some of those CM conversations, that when I'm actually talking directly to people, I'm learning a lot myself, and it is the heart of this Creative Minds project, and that's just the truth. So let's jump onto the first interview extract, and I want to talk a little bit here about Toro y Moi. And yeah, let's jump into that, and then we'll come back.
Studios at a time for one record, especially for Whole Earth. This is the first time I've actually taken my Pro Tools sessions from studio to studio, and it was something I wanted to try doing just because being able to hop around studio to studio actually allows for more collaborations, which is a big part of this record. It really helped me just separate from the files. Like, that was a big thing, is like, I'm always behind the screen. This record, I wasn't as much. I felt like I reached like a cap on my capacity to sort of handle writing lyrics and thinking outside of what I've done and still trying to like clean it up. I just wanted that brain space to be taken care of or like just freed. And it was like the best move I've ever made, honestly. Like I've worked with engineers before and I've told myself for years, I should get an engineer. So this is the record I did that. I think it's safe to say that the song Undercurrents featuring Don Toliver and Porches was probably one of the first tracks I had that really sort of sparked this darker grunge aspect of the record. I made that song in like 2020 and I was just waiting for the right project because at the same time I was working on Mahal, which is very 70s psych rock, and I knew that I wanted to bring in this like 90s angst for a project, so I just saved it. A lot of the collaborations were relationships that were started years prior to even working on the record. So I think a big part of that is just learning to put things on ice and being patient with them and revisiting them when it's actually time to execute. And that's something I did a lot with this record. It's safe to say that 2020 was eye-opening for everyone. It was actually like a moment in time where I could be dark and angsty with intention. Before a lot of my like moodiness would...
You are live with the Creative Minds podcast.
Okay, right. So Toro y Moi there speaking about a year ago about a project that he brought out, Whole Earth. And this is on my radar now because he's recently brought out a new version of that called Whole Earth Unplugged. And that's the one that I've been really digging at the moment. And yeah, special shout outs to my favourite song at the moment for that, which a little bit noob here, but it's the first song, Walking in the Rain. And yeah, just the vocal tone, just lovely. He talks about getting an engineer there. The tone on the new one is really nice. And but what I wanted to talk about Toro y Moi, and why I think he's a really good example for artists and creatives out there, and why I find him inspirational personally is because he's got this project, right? This guy called Chaz, pretty sure his name's Chaz, has got this project, Toro y Moi, and he wants it to be sustainable over time. He's doing it for ages. I don't know when he started, but I swear he's been doing it for over 10 years now. It's a long time. And in order to keep that up, I can see he has to keep it free. So if you listen to that discography, you'll see that it's changing. He'll try all different kinds of styles of music, right? And I think there's a massive lesson there. I mean, that's something that I know that I need to do with my projects. As soon as you put something in a box, as soon as you're like, I do this, I make this specific thing, just wait for 2 years time, 3 years time. And if you're anything like I am, and maybe like what we can see in this Toro y Moi project, that box, if it's too strict, you're gonna get bored, or you're not gonna get bored necessarily. That's not a very interesting way to put it. What's gonna happen is you're gonna be inspired by different things. You're gonna change. Your inspirations are gonna change. Something's gonna come in, a new collaboration, all this stuff. What Toro y Moi teaches us with his project is be loose. Allow projects to shift and change. That's the only way that you can have real freedom in your work. And also, isn't that just a nicer way to work? I feel like it is. And look, I'm getting into this a bit now, but I just wanted to make the other point now as we're on this, which is that often if we try, when we have the energy to try and be too tight about a project, it can be good to ask ourselves, hold on a sec, are we a bit insecure about this creative expression? And are we trying to actually just fit it into some kind of framework that's been built externally? Are we just trying to make it for a specific part of, the kind of to fit into something that someone else has defined, in order to have a particular kind of success or something like that. I think you're probably with me. I'm going to move on from that point, but I think you're probably with me. And so where I wanted to move from there is to another eclectic, creative, Blood Orange, Dev Hynes, and another album that, as I say, I've been listening to recently, and I was listening to it in my car. The new project from Dev Hynes, Blood Orange. And yeah, I'm just going to play a little extract from this interview we did about it. But again, we're looking at another free feeling, interesting, creative voice who's open and collaborative here. And yeah, let's jump into the extract here.
This is the Creative Minds podcast.
We're very, very close. And then you're from Essex, thus the name of the record, Essex Honey, Essex in England. And after your mom passed, a period of reflection.
Yeah, that's accurate. I mean, with me, I'm kind of always working on music. So the music's always circulating. Like there's on this album, there's music that was started 12 years ago. And so it's always kind of there. But I think a combination of turning 39 and then my mother passing and then being back home. And you can even throw the pandemic in. I feel like people don't, everyone's too scarred to talk about the pandemic, but we're not ready yet. But pretty big deal. And I think all of these factors, I couldn't help but be a bit more reflective and looking back at growing up, and honestly looking at music in general. As much as the album is walking through grief and family and the town that one is from, a large portion of it is also this love letter to listening to music.
Well, let's listen to some music, and this is not your music. Can we take a listen to this?
Relax. It's just the Creative Minds podcast.
Hello. Right, sorry for the slight pause in audio there. We're working through some stuff here, but I hope that you get a sense of, look, Dev Hynes, Blood Orange, that new project, go listen to it. And again, we're looking at someone who is allowing themselves to be, I think, one of the things that I think is good to take from these two artists is they are secure in the fact that they're just like going to be doing this. They love music, they're going to be creating it long term. And with that in mind, the music projects themselves come out quite naturally because they're just working on these songs over time and they're just expressing themselves in their creative formats over time. And then these projects are just they're coming out of that. They're being born quite naturally out of that. And that's maybe allowing them to be these quite eclectic, quite free, quite open, creative projects with Toro y Moi and Blood Orange there. Again, look, I just wanted to say, I'll tell you why I'm doing it like this now, just for the moment. I'll tell you why I've decided to use this format and will hopefully be going forward with it in some of my videos, is firstly because you've probably been hearing the fact that this is the podcast tags I've been putting on this, and that's because you can go and check this out this is on the CM podcast right now, and I'll link that below. So if you want to listen to this, or if you ever want to review it when you're out, you can just go and check that episode out and you'll get the audio from this in the podcast version. And I just think that's awesome. I listen to a lot of stuff when I'm walking around, and I'd be glad to be there in anyone's ears if they like that. The other thing, the slightly, you could say it's quite a comical thing, but it's just some form of problem solving here, is that I've got carpal tunnel in my wrist, and I got it from editing. I got it from video editing, yeah. So I guess warning to, if you're working in that way, I know a lot of creatives work with, I was obviously working in Premiere at the time, and heavy computer work, and I could feel it coming on, that carpal tunnel. So, and I didn't know it was going to be with me for so long at the time. So just, I guess a warning there. But that's another reason I wanted to try and, I get it's exacerbated with editing. So I was thinking, can I build this format that's a bit more responsive and doesn't need me to record the piece and then sit down for and do 2 or 3 days editing on it. So anyway, I don't know if that's interesting, but I thought I'd add it. Right, moving on now. And again, I picked up this interview with artist Raphaela Vogel only this morning when I was having my coffee, right? But this is an interesting extract. I'll tell you what, I'll play it first, and then I'll come back and tell you why I'm finding it specifically interesting for myself at the moment. So let's come into that.
This is the Creative Minds podcast. Relax. It's just the Creative Minds podcast.
I am working against a popular attempt. Männer bomben Satelliten. If this in time, I try to public lecture about your artwork or time. I'm asked a lot to give interviews when I do a show or a solo show. Then it's often the task to explain the work, to give a public lecture about your artwork, or to give a statement for social media. And I try to avoid it in that classical sense, or how it is often done, because it's a bit difficult if you have the work here and then a screen next to it where the artist not explains but tells you what it is about. And I think it's I don't want that I myself have the last word about the interpretation about the works. I don't want to avoid this format totally, because I think it is interesting how artists talk about work. So I try to find a in-between situation.
Relax. It's just the Creative Minds podcast.
Hello, yeah. So, yeah. Feeling the pressure or working in certain situations where you're asked to put your creative work in a box for others. Not necessarily a problem, as Raphaela says, but yeah, recently I've had this in a small way. I'm making I'm making a music project myself, and I've been kind of developing that. And I was asked by someone the other day, who I didn't know at all, and they said, "Oh, what kind of music do you make? And what kind of music is this project going to be?" And I found that hard to define. I actually just didn't really have an answer. In the end, I said it was folky, and I don't think it is folky at all. Well, it is folky, but yeah, you're being asked constantly to label your work, to label your creative practice, whether that's visual work or music, whatever it is. We're often asked to label it. And the other thing that happened the other day was, I'm working on these kind of demos, and I was almost going to send one to someone, and then I held back. This is something that I've talked to people about with their creative practice. When do you share ideas? And it comes back to that thing of I mean, I held back from sharing that idea because I have experiences in the past now where I've shared ideas, and it's almost like as soon as even one person hears them, there's a kind of energy that can be lost, a kind of creative energy that can be lost once you share that idea, even with one person. I find that anyway. Not necessarily when it's a collaborator, but when it's someone, I guess the question is, what are you asking for when you share that idea? And at least to be clear with that, because feedback's an interesting thing. So just wanted to kind of look at that and open that discussion around defining our work for others. And I thought that was interesting anyway. So we're going to jump onto the next extract now. And this is the Jeremy Strong bit. I'm just going to play you the extract and then I'll tell you why I think Jeremy Strong is an interesting example for artists and creatives and can maybe teach some of us some stuff. So let's just get that up on the screen now. Right, okay.
This is the Creative Minds podcast.
How does it work?
Honestly, I don't want to ascribe too much.
Relax. It's just the Creative Minds
ownership
podcast.
over that. I think a performance is not a monolith. You know, it's a thousand.
Thank you. Yes.
It's 1,000 imperfect attempts at a scene or a moment, and I find personally that I feel sort of always on the frontier of uncertainty and confusion, and from that place making attempts at, based on your intuition. In terms of charting it, I feel very fortunate to be working with material. Jesse Armstrong and the writers are so brilliant and have such a sort of incisive, forensic understanding of psychiatry, of sort of interiority. So a lot of that needle is threaded for you, and like very powerful magnets just sort of pulls out of you what it needs to. And this is the hardest part, as you know, have to make yourself available to that and be a vessel for it. So I feel like I've been sort of coursed through these Class 5 whitewater rapids for a few seasons, and I love it. And it is heavy. The weight of it is heavy. Just trying to meet the demands of it and trying to embody what the character's struggle is. For me, in this last season, there was a lot of imagining a golden light, and there's this sense of needing to, for Kendall, there's a sort of airborne quality.
Hello. So what I wanted to talk about with that, and why I think that Jeremy Strong is an interesting role model for some artists. Let's get into it. It's because Jeremy Strong gets some stick sometimes for being he's known for doing like method acting, and he gets some stick sometimes for being too in the role, or what I see is like, it's almost like he gets stick from being too serious about the work. And I think there's a lot of pressure, and it's linked to people's being vulnerable. I think there's pressure to not be sincere about your creative work. It's like an opt-out, right? There's a lot of, in culture, and there's a lot of use for laughing at ourselves in culture. There's a lot of use for not taking ourselves too seriously, and being able to laugh at ourselves. That's a really useful skill. But when culture can be so looking for the laughs, it's also important to recognize that you are allowed to be serious about something that's not, you're also allowed to be serious about something that's not being in a job where you're getting paid for it. You are allowed to be serious and sincere about your creative work and your creative passion, and you don't always have to laugh at yourself the whole time within that role. And even counts when, even if someone else isn't going, you do this, you do that, I'm going to pay you this amount of money for it, right? Because often, it's like, it seems like a lot of people are able to practice sincerity within a tight capitalist framework, but when it comes to their passions, maybe their creative work, they keep that sense of, oh, I'm not taking it too seriously, or there's still a bit of a laughter in it, because that's almost allowing an opt-out. I hope that's somewhat clear. But yeah, I think Jeremy Strong, I'm going to put some, if you jump over to the newsletter article, which I'm going to link in the description here with the podcast episode, then I'm going to link some other Jeremy Strong interviews. And yeah, I think he takes his work seriously, and people take the piss out of him for it, right? But if you take your work seriously, you've got to be open to that. People will take the piss out of you for it. As soon as you're serious about it, because they go, oh, I can poke fun in that person because he's taking it seriously, or she, or, that person is taking that seriously. And so they're vulnerable in some way. That's allowing me to, they're saying I care about this. And that allows me, if I'm like a fun poker, to poke holes in it. And I like Jeremy Strong because he goes full pelt, and he opens himself up in that way. Anyway, let's move on now. You see, I could talk about that probably a bit longer, but I probably shouldn't. So let's go into the Earl interview here now.
Relax. It's just a Creative Minds podcast.
I love every single note and every second on this record. It's tight, and you really made it count in the last few years of figuring out what it is that you wanted to say. So I guess the question is, when did you start? Like, when did you realize that it's not just about creating and doing it for the moment, but this could be a body of work. This could be something I might want to put my name on and put out there. When did it take shape or start?
I put all of my eggs in the basket of music, so I don't really like leave an option for myself to just like kind of. I mean, I leave room for myself to just every day I like have to make music or interact with music, but I'm like working with direction, like on all of the music, I think in a way that I like haven't before. Mm-hmm. And so I guess I should just say that to say I always know there's gonna be a album. I just don't know what it is. Yeah. And then I kind of wait and listen to myself and hear the things that I'm like interested in, and hear the things that are becoming recurring themes and exciting me. And then and then I see where the songs are starting to land, and like the themes and everything, see how they're working with each other, see what pairs of songs I like. And then like with this one, Exhaust was first.
It's so funny. I was about to play that first.
Yeah.
Because to me, it feels like even though it's at the end, it was almost like a tribute to the fact that it holds such an important role in this record.
For sure.
You tell a lot of your truth on that song. The music is very nurturing and soulful.
Mm-hmm. That one came first, and I think it like definitely anchored everything and gives in a story. It's like, okay, we know now we got the ending.
Yeah.
And then like, let's see.
Yeah, because you even cap it. You even say at the end, you're like,
at the end of the day.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, end of the day. And then even the title, like Exhaust, like driving off into the sunset, like the exhaust pipes, like it's like, and then exhaustion, like getting to the end.
At the end of the day, it's really just you and whatever you think. I'm emailing you straight. Oh yeah. So there you have it. What a beautiful way to finish the album.
For sure.
So there you have it. Because it's not like this definitive mic drop thing. It's a very generous statement So there you have it. If you look at it on paper, it's just a beautiful thing to say to somebody, man. So, but it can also be kind of throwaway too.
Well, it's if you follow the words too, the phrase before it is like, I'm airmailing you strength.
Yeah.
And it's like, so there you have it.
Yes, it's yours.
Yeah, like you have it.
I know you rap your ass off, bro. You're a fucking amazing rapper. But sometimes when I listen to you in songs, I feel like it's a different kind of prose. It's a different kind of approach, because I don't feel like you're coming at it with like a hot 32 or a hot 64. Sometimes I feel like I'm listening to a poet. Sometimes I feel like I'm listening to just a free thinker, and sometimes it doesn't even need to rhyme sometimes for me.
I'm obsessed with this shit in a way where I know that I'm a little bit shot out. So the things that kind of excite me are like rule bending things, you know what I mean? Or like, I forget the other day I was trying to rhyme like cane corso and like something really weird, you know what I mean? Like I like doing that shit, you know what I mean? Like, you know the one interview with Yasin where someone's like, nothing rhymes with orange, and he's like, a lot of things rhyme with orange. Yeah. I fuck with like finding things that rhyme with orange, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I also love, and this is a 90s throwback, I love rappers like Sadat X from Brand Nubian, who just didn't used to sometimes finish with a rhyme.
Yeah.
He'd just go, check it out now, and he just put a placeholder in. It didn't rhyme, but he just say something that sounds so rhythmically
Prodigy.
perfect.
Hello. Right, okay. Apologies for the audio lags in this. I'm going to get better at this. The line that jumped out, what did he say? I know that I'm kind of shot with this stuff. Like, what I like, again, we're looking at someone who is, like, just, he knows why he's making work. He's going to be making it long term. And it's another project that's come along on that journey. There's just, I remember another Earl interview in the past where he says, like, if you want to, he says, like, if you want to push really hard and be this like superstar solo thing, like, you can do that, but like, it's going to take its toll unless you're a very specific kind of person. And I think with what you're seeing is someone who likes to just, like, he's a bit of a geek with the work in the best way possible. Like, he likes to just sit and cultivate the stuff that he likes to cultivate. And maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but that's what I see. And I think that's what's coming across in what he says there. And yeah, I just like that extract, because again, you're just seeing that kind of like, yeah, I'm just here doing the thing that I love to do, and I'm a bit of a geek about it, and I know kind of the purpose of why I'm doing it. I'm doing it to bring strength to people, and I'm out here just doing that thing. I'm not trying to push myself into crazy like area like mentally with it. I'm just trying to like enjoy, you know, because there's another interview with Earl where he says, it's your creative practice should feed you, it should nurture you, you know. And I think it's that thing of like, we don't have to be like, it doesn't have to be a gripping feeling when we think about our creative passion. Like, it shouldn't be like, oh, I'm gonna grip really tight onto this project and I'm gonna achieve this and this, and I'm gripping. It's like, you have time. If you're confident with the things you want to do, and you can just cultivate over time, and you know your purpose, you know what you're trying to do, and you know why you love this stuff, and you do it regularly, there's no need to kind of be like with it, you know. And you know, that's probably not the best mental space to come at it from, you know. Yeah. Anyway. Look, now I want to jump into the conversation that I had with Anna Bucciarelli, and don't switch off, because don't think, oh, this person, this is just Will and some person that I'm not aware of. Maybe you are aware of Anna's work. I hope you are. She is a YouTuber, but she also she does she's like a visual artist, and I guess you could say works in the design space as well. I'm just going to let her introduce herself in a minute, really. But yeah, I had this conversation with her, which I know it's about our creative passion and taking that. It's about the tensions that can come around moving that into maybe the content marketing space, or maybe moving that into a freelance space where we're trying to make money out of it. It's about boundaries that we might want to put in, and it's about all kinds of good stuff. And I watched it back before I put it out on my newsletter, and I just was sitting there thinking, it's the same with a lot of these Creative Minds conversations. It is honestly the heart of what I've done. It's the thing that comes out of Creative Minds that feels most like a privilege for me, and I said it before, that is no bullshit. Seriously, being able to talk to people who have connected through my videos, and then to learn stuff from them, like time and time again. When I first thought, I'm going to reach out on my newsletter and try and talk to creatives from this community, I was a bit like, what's going to come back? I was a bit like, it's the internet. What's going to come back? And then, I put it out, and it's just been over and over again. It's been these like really interesting conversations for me. And I'm going to play you this one with Anna now. I'm going to play it almost in its entirety, really. And as I say, I think people will enjoy it. I enjoyed it, and go check Anna's work out. It'll be linked below, and let's get on with that.
Relax. It's just a Creative Minds podcast.
Coins that the government makes, and because we're Canadian, it's usually with
A little bit about your work and what you do, but can you just introduce yourself to anyone who doesn't, please?
Yeah, hi Will, and I've been watching your channel for a while now. I'm a watercolor YouTuber. I'm primarily known online as someone that does watercolors. In sort of my real job outside of YouTube, I do I'm a professional illustrator. And specifically what I focus on is very kind of niche and interesting. I design for the government of Canada. So all these silver and gold coins that the government makes, and because we're Canadian, it's usually with, right now it's with King Charles. So all the collectible dollars that my country makes, I do the fun designs for that. And in addition to that, I do some other illustrations, but those are sort of the two things that I focus on.
Wow, yeah. And I want to get into all the being a creative online and being a YouTuber and balancing the practice with the packaging and all that kind of good stuff. But first, I can't not ask how you get a contract like that with the Canadian government, because that is, I think I might need something like that.
It's an interesting story, and sort of I think it ties into what we're going to talk about in terms of social media and kind of being an artist online. It started as it was a happy accident, and I like to kind of, when you tell these stories in retrospect, everything sort of lines up and makes sense. But I never studied to be an artist. I went to business school and I had my regular corporate job, but I had this sort of like hobby on the side where I've always painted. And growing up in Eastern Europe, I was lucky enough to learn folk art, Ukrainian folk art. And so I would like draw these really intricate, tiny like jewelry boxes and spoons and things like that. And somebody just said, like, this was 15 years ago, I'm a middle-aged lady. I'm talking like years and years ago, when social media was sort of just starting, and like Instagram and all these things. And people were like, just post it online. This is really interesting. And they were really intricate to the point where like I would paint through magnifying glass. So I posted it on a platform called Behance. I think it was purchased by Adobe since then. So it's just like a little portfolio of these intricate things. And Royal Canadian Mint at the time, this was like before I had kids, they were looking for someone who, because when you design money, like what you see is like a coin or a bill, right? But you actually have to like create a very intricate drawing that engravers can then reinterpret. And so they were looking for someone, it was like a set of, my understanding was a set of like requirements, someone who's a citizen of Canada and someone who
I'm out, damn.
Someone who's patient enough to sit there for many, many weeks and like come up with these designs. And they looked at these folk art things and they were like, yep, this person kind of fits the bill. So they asked me to do one, and it was a sellout. It was like a gift collectible version coin. And since then I've done like different series for them. So every year I focus on like the British Royal series. I do a lot of like the flowery ones, lots of different things. So yeah.
Wow, yeah, that's really interesting. And you know what? I got one more question about that actually, because there's quite a lot of freelance creatives who watch this, and I myself came through and still do some freelance video editing. And in my kind of best part of a decade doing freelance video editing, I realized that one of the key parts of it was managing client relationships, whether that's about setting expectations or just putting things in place so that you deliver or over deliver or keep a contract going. So for any kind of budding freelance creatives, because there is so much to learn there apart from the practice itself, have you got any tips? Because you sounds like you've managed that contract for a long time, and yeah, I think this is kind of interesting stuff for younger people.
Yeah, good question. I do have my biggest tip, and I've been working with Royal Mint now for 12 years, and I've done like projects for Simon & Schuster. So I kind of I pick and choose the brands I work for because I have this social media business on the side. So I sort of I'm a little bit different from like the up and coming artists who have to sort of take a lot of jobs, and I can be a little bit more selective. So that's the caveat. But I will say any sort of contract freelance job that you take on, my biggest recommendation would be to separate that very much from your, how do I put this? From your desire to kind of explore your own creativity, because you're really building a relationship and delivering value for someone. You have to almost set aside your ego and really treat this very differently from the stuff that you do for yourself. And I think that also is very much in play when it comes to building a YouTube channel or whatever it is, where you have an audience or you have someone who's paying you, whether it's directly or indirectly. You have to be able to somehow keep these two areas of your creativity almost like obviously they're overlapping, but you have to treat them with a different set of considerations. You're delivering value, and you have to listen very carefully and sort of be really focused and I don't want to say customer oriented, and forgive me because there's a lot of corporate speak in how I think about it, but you really have to set your ego aside in those situations. I hope that makes sense and doesn't come out too harsh.
No, that does make sense, and it resonates with stuff that I've seen on my journey as well. And it recognizes it resonates with the reality of my journey on YouTube as well. And I was what was I speaking? I think I was writing a script this morning, and I was thinking about how I'm trying to do something slightly new with one of my videos, and I was asking the audience. I was saying, can you just like this video? Because not because you think it's perfect, but because you want to tell YouTube that you're on the journey with me and you care about collaborating and telling me you don't care about this being perfect. You care about being this channel or the work, or you believe in the work. And what I was thinking about is the reality, which is that in a way, when we put stuff out through social media or on YouTube, for example, I kind of sometimes thinking about it like a bit like we're being like a McDonald's, and you have your cheeseburger, right? And my cheeseburger is a particular packaging and a particular video, right? And it's the video that took my channel off, you know. It's a video that first got enough views for me to think seriously about it as a way I could, you know, something I could invest time in. But that's 3 years ago now. But I still have to make that video, and that's fine, you know. But it's the reality of what is, you know, a commercial world, and, you know, whatever, as you say, trying to bring on new customers by something that worked or something like that. Yeah,
Can I interrupt you
jump in. Yeah, absolutely, please.
I'm really glad you brought that aspect up. And that's what I was sort of missing when I was trying to make a point about setting your ego aside. That I didn't want to come across as like, oh, this is like a grind where you just deliver and deliver. It actually comes full circle if you do this right. And I think the fact that you and I are having this conversation right now is a testament to that, because I found you through that video. And at first, this is how people find you. And you sort of have to go through this process, whether you're working with clients or you're trying to build a YouTube channel, where you need to capture the audience by sort of almost like recognizing what it is that they're searching for. And that video, the video that I think you're referring to, where I found you, it was like, I needed to hear it at the time. Whether or not it was the video you wanted to make that week, I don't know, but it was for me. And now, years later, because I try to not miss any of the content that you put out, because I do now sort of know what you're trying to build. I appreciate you as a creator, and I sort of know where you land when you speak about all these issues. I care about what you say, and I will listen to any video that you put out. But back in the day, I don't know you yet, so I have to kind of like, I have to get to know you. And maybe it is a little bit of a McDonald's experience that over time, if you do it right, people recognize your value and they're more attuned to sort of the more nuanced things that you want to put out. And it's the same with working with clients, where like with Mint right now, I feel free and sort of liberated enough to come to them and say, well, I think about this project like this, and what if we try this? Whereas first couple of years, it was like, let me learn about your business and how you do things and what kind of, you know, artwork I can contribute. I'm not here to tell you how to do things. So I think it kind of comes with experience and reputation, if you know what I mean. So even on my channel now, I take liberties from time to time, and I just put out things because I feel like doing it. And, you know, so it's going to get a little bit less views, but I feel like it's important to share, and I have people who are willing to listen. And, you know, it's the same thing. Like, I sometimes listen to your interviews with, you know, on topics that are not directly related to my practice, but I'm curious how you see it, because now I know you and I care. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that is to say, I think it's kind of like a cycle where you have to almost like zoom out and see the full picture and treat it as a marathon, and just trust the process.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's about, and that, you know, makes me think about trust and stuff like that as well, and building that trust with, you know, because at the end of the day, I mean, the reason I like YouTube and have always watched a lot of YouTube is, in a way, some of my favorite YouTube videos are really simple ones, where it's just it could just be like getting to know someone who is a little bit unique and like vlogs from their chair every day or something. And I always really like that kind of stuff. It's almost a normalcy, but basically for me, it's about building a relationship with the person on camera. And I remember when I was first thinking, should I put my face in my videos or not? And then someone who was close to me said, why do you watch YouTube? And then like, who do you watch on YouTube? And then I thought, okay, yeah, I can see what they're saying. And they were getting at something about that relationship. But I've just realized that I don't know if you put your face in actually. So that's not no, I think this is an interesting way to go down.
I mostly don't.
Yeah.
I don't know which way you want me to take this, but
I have an idea for where I want to go with that, because I just watched a bit of your video on the negative comments that you get.
That's the experimental one.
And I thought,
I needed to say.
Yeah, well, shouts to the algorithm for serving me that one, because that was the one for me, definitely. And it makes me, I'm not even being self-righteous when I say that I recognize that I have a privilege on YouTube. I'm really not patting my back when I say that. I recognize that's the reality. No one has really come at me on YouTube. And it's because of the way I look. I'm pretty, I'm this person who doesn't get a lot of hate online, partly because I'm male, and, for a number of other reasons, I'm sure. And you spoke quite honestly in that video about all this. I've had some negativity, so maybe we'll get into details on it, but I'm more interested in what you were talking about on that. And maybe I'm a bit, I was kind of smiling as you went through the all the crap that people give you, because it makes me laugh that people bother to do this shit. But tell me a bit about your experience and maybe your journey on social media with what you described in that video.
Yeah, so art community in general, I was always aware that it can get very sensitive, because especially for me, I'm very introverted, and I initially did not want to put my face on camera because I just get really shy, and I feel comfortable talking to you because I feel like I know sort of how your interviews go, and you're very kind, and you try to always help, and you ask good questions, and it's not always like that. But also there's that element of art is subjective, and whenever you post something that, it's not again, I come from a world of numbers, where everything is very much black and white. That's how it was in my corporate job. Whereas this is someone can say I don't like this shade of pink, and you can take that really far. But people also get very personal with, I have an accent. Obviously I didn't, I was born in a different country and spoke a different language for half my life. So there's that. There's my voice itself, or what you're wearing, and that sort of thing. And it's just, for some reason, when people feel like they're anonymous, they just feel like they can post all sorts of things. And I have a whole folder where I typically just take a screenshot and I send it to my sister, because people get very creative with their mean comments, very, very mean. And I used to get a little bit upset. And then I have a friend who's a very big YouTuber. Lucky for me, he just told me one day, you just press delete and don't think about it. And that really helped me, because I used to get you kind of walk around, you're oh my God, I am ugly. My voice is terrible. I should never speak again. This is what people post.
Yeah.
And you and I can laugh about it, but when someone writes you an essay, and it can be pretty cutting, and this is where maybe let's put aside just the general silly, rude comments, but people would write me long messages about, I have one saved here that I thought, maybe we can talk about that. someone wrote me that like I'm wasting my talent and I should be complete, like I'm painting stupid flowers, wasting my life.
I heard you talk about that. Yeah.
That kind of stuff can really get to you if you think about it too much. So I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, why do people do that? I mean, let's not go into that, but I always, again, to be honest, I haven't received that much that's cutting like that. That's quite interesting how someone's come at you there, and it's obviously it's a reflection of themselves more than anything that you're doing, but yeah, they're trying to devalue your artistic process, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%. And so I'm curious, like, what your thoughts are on that, and if you ever, if you don't mind, just for a minute, because I think it would help me a lot. Like, what are your thoughts on that, and if you ever like think about your art as, is like, do you ever think, is what I'm doing valuable enough for others, and like, should I be doing something else, or should I be like, because I think about that a lot. I'm like, okay, so I'm really good at this particular narrow niche, like part of my medium. Should I be exploring something more heavy or something more? Do you ever think like that about your music or writing?
Yeah,
I mean, what you're doing is like so much more.
No. I think I don't put my music out too much, and I don't put my anything else. I don't put my direct artistic practice out like what you're doing. So I'm doing something quite different, aren't I? I'm doing something quite different, more like video essay stuff. But the way I've always seen it is, and you're, I think as you're over 30, you probably know, as you're someone who is not like really young, right? And I'm someone who's not really young either. I think I can recognize, at least in my own life, I've had shit in the real world that I've gone through. And I just laugh at this stuff online, honestly. And that's just because, it's just, it pales in significance. But no one's sending me like, that doesn't, whatever, let's not get into this. I know that other people have experiences online that would scare me. But that's not my experience. What the funniest comment someone said to me was that I was pretending to be British, which I thought, you're giving me a lot of credit, because there's no way I could do that.
Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, we can put that aside.
Yeah.
Cool topic. But.
So, is there anything like coming into this discussion today? Is there anything that you specifically wanted to kind of bring to the table?
Mostly, I was looking forward to talking to you and sort of hearing your thoughts, and I'm happy to contribute from my perspective. But I think our first contact was when you put out a video, and we sort of had this discussion in the comments about the tension between creativity and sort of how that comes out on social media when you see my accent comes through on social media, when you have to sort of be mindful of the business aspect of things and balancing, your need to experiment and grow as an artist versus, I have to put out a video every week or whatever. And I think, as you said, like, we're a little bit older and we go through a lot of things in life, and not to say that at 20 you have your own stresses and that sort of thing. So how do you balance and not sort of lose yourself if you are committed to being online as a creative person? Because it can mess with your head sometimes. And people like to just come out and say like, oh, screw the algorithm, just like do whatever you feel like doing, but that also doesn't work. And we both know that, right? So I sort of wanted to maybe have a more thoughtful conversation about what you've learned over the years, in terms of like balancing it and what, where I'm at, and maybe we can come up with some helpful tips.
Ideas of people, yeah.
Not a solution, but sort of like an approach, or, the beginnings of an approach.
Yeah, and something that comes to mind for me around that is that I definitely haven't solved it yet. And I've been talking to quite a few people in these conversations about the necessity to balance giving time to like key relationships and giving time to live in your life, as well as being as an artist or creative. I've had periods in my life where I've been really distracted in a beautiful way. I've been obsessed with my work, but it's been a massive, I've had like 9-to-5 jobs where I haven't really like given any real, I've always been one headphone in kind of, I've always been thinking if someone in a meeting's going, oh, let's get that right for next year, I'm thinking I won't be here next week. I'm not going to be here next year. Not because I'm some egotistical person, but because it was never my priority. I always had my heart was somewhere else, and where that's left me. And then that's fed into also like key relationships. And something I was talking about to someone the other day is that my video release schedule was always on Sunday evenings. And Sunday evenings are a really important time for like family or loved ones, or often they are, especially when those people have normal schedules. But as you'll know, probably, unless you're way more organized than I am, often, although I made my best attempts to be done by 4:00 so I could sit down and do something with a loved one on that Sunday evening and care about that. Actually, it was the most stressful day of the week for me because there was always something. And then also my mind was elsewhere because I would be thinking about, is it going well? Do I need to switch the thumbnail? All that kind of stuff. Which is a process for me in terms of just trying to like get better with that. And I have managed to get better with that. And when I put a video out now, I don't look at it straight afterwards, or when it's going out, I just turn the computer off. And then I'll come back an hour later just to check that no one said in the comments that something's messed up or anything like that. Yeah. But it has had a real effect on certain relationships. And I've probably prioritized it in like, not consciously, but there's been like a prioritization of it that I'm needing to reframe going forward, because to me, that doesn't end up leading to the best long-term work. And then the second thing that I'll say on that is just what I say on my channel a lot, which is about focusing on long-term goals is always a big salve for me. Because, I put a video out on Sunday, I thought it was going to do well. It was a good video. It didn't get a lot of views. I don't care. I don't care now, but a bit of me does care. But I have to shut that.
On YouTube, because I'm nodding because I'm literally like, I think that's the evolution like every creator goes through eventually.
Yeah.
The stages that you're describing is very similar to what I went through. Not that like it wasn't that smooth, but I sort of went through those key stages that you've hit on. So how long have you been on YouTube?
Probably like 3 years or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it really. It's just trying to constantly think long term. But then recently I've had a few new opportunities that are coming with different stakeholders. And so the pressure is again building up a bit. So again, I'm going to have to go through. It may be the case now that when I put something out, I'm going to need to email someone who's going to also be checking the numbers, and it just becomes.
Yeah, the whole sponsorships aspect of that, I think that's what you're referring to.
Yeah.
I tested that model out, and I actually decided to never take, like, not never say never. If it's a product that I absolutely like have been using myself for years and swear by, I would, but I'm taking a step back from that because I find that it puts a pressure on top of the existing pressures that I almost don't need in my life. That said, not every channel can be monetized properly without a sponsorship. Like I have the Patreon support that's allowing me to have that luxury. So yeah, I hear you. It's definitely like a cycle of pressure, like a tiny little deadlines that you have to hit all the time. I think it's the relentless nature of it that doesn't recognize that you're human, that really makes it sometimes almost impossible to deal with. And to me, what's been interesting is this whole wave of first very large creators. I think it was like a year ago where there was like a wave of YouTubers quitting. I don't know if you caught that. It was like,
I remember that a bit, I think.
Video after video, and it was outside of art niche. It was like people who had millions of subscribers suddenly closing their businesses and quitting, which was followed by sort of like a second wave of people downsizing. And so like folks like Matt Diavella, like again, millions of subscribers, they build up these huge teams and then basically say, okay, I'm going back to basics and it's just going to be me editing and putting out video whenever I feel like on the topic that I like. So there's been definitely this like shift. And I think it came from like just people spinning out of control with this pressure of like, I have to do weekly posts. Some people do like several times a week. Like, how would mind you, like if I didn't have kids, maybe I would, but it's just, it's nuts. And I think what I'm seeing right now is people are being a lot more, or at least people who are in it for the long run, is people are kind of recognizing that you have to be able to take time off, and you have to be able to say like, this month I'm not posting. Like we just moved, I didn't post for a month. Like I just couldn't do it because first of all, I didn't have any of my cameras. But you just have to sort of like say, the algorithm is this, but you're a human being and there's real life outside of all this fun YouTube stuff that we're doing, and be okay with it. Like, yeah, obviously it still affects you and you're like, I could have done this and that, but you have to like at the end of the day say, okay, this is just how it's going to be and I can't beat myself up over it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm interested actually to ask if, because I guess in a way we're kind of talking about protecting the creative practice a little bit from the concerns of the market, from being suffocated by the constant concerns of the market, you know, and we don't want to become someone who's just kind of feeding all their passion into this coin machine, you know, and trying to get the big numbers on it, which can happen so easily and has happened to me before, you know, and I'm always kind of trying, constant pressure not to do that. Do you consciously work on certain things in terms of illustration or any creative practice that aren't, and you go, I'm not putting this out, or do you have a structure around that?
I'm in the process of developing the structure, and I'm glad you asked, because I got to the point where I had a really, really unhealthy relationship with my camera, like the one that's hanging right here, where everything for about a period of, I want to say 2, almost 3 years, everything I've painted had to be recorded. And I got into a really unhealthy, in retrospect, habit of, even when I was sketching, and my kind of primary skill, I would say, is not so much even watercolor, but putting together compositions. So what I do for the Royal Mint, like the coins, I sit there for hours and I put together these intricate things. And suddenly I noticed that like I just had to have the camera on, because God forbid I do something cool that could be recorded and turned into content. There's something to be said about being observed during the time when you're creating. I think it really, really affects you, whether you we like to admit it or not. Knowing that thing is going to be seen or that you're going to have to explain it, it really changes, or at least for me it did, it really changes how you do it, and it changes the results. And I think it also changes what you learn during that time, because if you're too aware of being seen, whether live or I don't do lives, or not very often anyway, but I think it can really affect where you're going with your creative work, and not in a good way. And what I've noticed is when I kind of look back, I think I was packing and organizing my work. I realized like I've taught so many people over the years, but in the last couple of years myself, I don't think I've learned that much, because I'm being aware of like being watched in the future. And I'm like holding myself down. I'm not experimenting anymore. And so that really spooked me, like really spooked me. And I remember calling my sister and like trying to explain myself, saying like, I'm never going to grow as an artist if I continue doing this. So I had to literally like set aside time, and it's really, really hard. It's hard. I don't know why it's so hard, but it's hard. But I do it now where I have to turn the camera away, and I'm never going to show any of this to anyone. Sometimes I do like as a, this is what I did kind of a couple of weeks ago, but never the process itself, because it's like, not to get too esoteric about it, but it's like in physics, like if a particle is being watched, like, you know what I mean? It changes the behavior of particles. I don't want to go down that road, but it's sort of like that to me. Yeah. So you have to set aside time when you're not watched, is my conclusion at all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, with my piano, which is something that I'm focused on, and I get a lot of, it's kind of the heart of my own creative practice. It's for me, that's an hour in the morning when I'll have my first hot drink and I'll just sit on my piano for, it's not always an hour, as long as I like, but it's every day, and it's such a quiet time that the day hasn't kind of overridden me yet in a way, like it's all kind of fresh, and that part of my brain is slowly switching on, of being kind of analytic and all that, but those kind of managerial things haven't come into my head yet, and I'm just able to kind of chill out a bit and enjoy that process.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah, and I was saying, actually, I was speaking to someone about it the other day, and the funny thing about that is I'm trying to figure out, I have that at periods in my life, and then I lose it and I stop doing it. And then I come back to it like I did about a month ago, and I'm like, wow, this is like super awesome. Like, and it's a really, whatever happens in my day after that, like a good thing has happened. Like, and it's the first thing, and I can be like, oh, that was actually chill and really enjoyable. And I've moved on in ways that I care about long term in that time. So yeah, why do we fall out of those patterns?
Completely agree that like that has been my experience too, is that like you kind of get into this routine and then you fall out of it. Life happens. I think, I don't know how it is for other disciplines. like music, but for art, I find that you have to step out of your routine and have other experiences to then bring them back and kind of create something new. So it's almost like expected. At least that's how I treat my own journey as an artist, is that I produce a lot of exciting stuff sometimes that I'm like, just like you said, I'm like, if I just do this one thing today, this has been a good day. And then it's sort of like you're not depleted, but you need to rest, and you need to let the world kind of give you ideas, like whether you're go traveling or walks or whatever. You kind of need the stimulus, and then you convert it into something new again. So I almost like expect these waves, and I usually start like series when I feel like particularly inspired for a couple months, and I work on something that's like a series that I can kind of explore, and then I put it aside. Sometimes it goes somewhere, sometimes it doesn't, but I think we need to be okay with like these waves that come in and out, like these cycles. You can't always be on and super productive and super into your routine. I think you just sort of have to be okay with these phases. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I like that. Yeah, accepting the kind of ups and downs of it on the long term. And, you know, as we were saying, that reflects in terms of the success in other forms as well. And in this kind of practicing acceptance in terms of like YouTube and stuff is a big one, right?
Practicing radical acceptance.
Yeah, radically accepting that the algorithm doesn't need us is important.
Yeah, and then sometimes I think about it like, am I just like, especially creating short form content, I'm like, am I just feeding this machine that's like rotting people's brains? I feel sometimes a little bit guilty, not so much about long form, and it's certainly not about like channels like yours where you can listen to and almost like you feel like you're having a conversation with two people, especially your interviews. That's so helpful. I'm talking about the need to do reels and all that stuff. That sometimes weighs on me because I'm like, is what I'm doing bad?
Yeah, it's interesting, and the pressure there is a pressure there to do it, isn't there? And
yeah, you have to.
Yeah, you know, there is a pressure, and especially if you do have other stakeholders, or you're trying, you know, if this is part of your financial trying to pay your bills, you know, then
that's what I mean.
Comes into it.
When I say you have to, it's not that I have to, but I have to pay my mortgage, so I kind of
have to,
you know. So.
Yeah, that's it. Anna, I'm gonna let you get back to your day in a minute, but where should we find? I'd like to stay in contact definitely, and also where should we find your work?
Well, it's Anna Bucciarelli on all the different channels. It's CCL. But I think
I'm going to link it too.
It's a long Italian last name. Thank you so much for inviting me to talk to you. And I hope I didn't go off on too many tangents.
No, absolutely not. No, I'm really happy. Really happy. Yeah. All right. Have a great day, Anna, and really thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Relax. It's just a Creative Minds podcast.
Hello. I do not want two of me on the screen right now. That's extremely disconcerting. So let's just get someone else on the screen. Hello. I hope some people enjoyed that. And if you're listening, so what I wanted to say actually at the end of this one is, I guess there'll be two kinds of viewers at this stage who are still engaged in this. There'll be people who are on YouTube, and there'll be people who are listening on the CM podcast. I'm looking for, if you're watching on YouTube, did you enjoy this? Did you enjoy this? You know, this format is at the moment, especially, more of a nurturing format from my perspective, and is feeding into things that is feeding into the sense of quality that I have in terms of what I can put out, you know, which I would say would be less of the slickness in terms of the edit and more of the conversations, the real conversations there, and then also more of being able to be responsive and a bit more discursive, naturally discursive with the interview clips that I'm taking. So yeah, did you enjoy this? And if you did, drop a like, or let me know if this felt a bit long too, if you like. That could be useful to hear. And yeah, if you're on the CM podcast, feel free to email me and let me know your feedback as well. That's will.video24@gmail.com, which is my email that's linked to this YouTube too. I'm just going to say peace now, people. If you're listening, peace and thanks. Drop a podcast review if you can. I'm not really sure how I can be quite hard, I think, growing natively within the podcast apps, but I know that the reviews is how you get suggested and stuff like that. And yeah, whatever, subscribe, drop a review. If you're watching this on YouTube and you did enjoy it, let me know. And yeah, see you around, see you again. Go and check out the newsletter along with this, because it's got more links. And also, thanks to the paid supporters, as always. I think you can see at this stage, firstly, even though we're a little bit down the line with Creative Minds, it's still something that is like, I'm pushing it, I'm enjoying pushing it, but it's not like this, it's not this mammoth kind of like money making machine, I can promise you that. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm not sad about anything regarding Creative Minds. As I said, it's a huge privilege especially to be able to have those in-depth conversations with people, engage in that way, and I want to do more of that. I want to do more of that. But yeah, thanks to the paid supporters is what I was getting at, because your support down the way has literally allowed me to continue to do this, and as I always say, that's no bullshit. So peace and good luck in your own work, and yeah, speak soon.